You ready to do this, Steve?
Let's do it, Spence. Punch it, Chewie.
Welcome, super friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot, as always, is Steve Madura.
Merry Christmas!
We're two best friends that, despite being fathers and husbands, we just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode number 42. We release every Thursday morning on iTunes, Google Music, and Stitcher. And Steve almost got me with the Merry Christmas line. That was awesome.
I was literally looking at a Rebel Intelligence article, and I'm like, yeah, I got nothing. So we'll get to that in a little bit. That's called foreshadowing, folks.
Yes, it is, isn't it? So,
it's a literary.
Oh,
tactic.
You're throwing the literary device at me today?
That's what it was. Oh.
So this is a bit unusual for us. Well, I mean, mostly unusual for us.
It's becoming more usual, isn't it?
Yeah, just a little bit. We're recording on a Tuesday night tonight. The reason being is that I've been sick for the last few days, and I felt like death on a cracker yesterday. And when I messaged you, and I was just like, hey, I mean, I think even like my text probably sounded like this. It was like, hey, I'm really sick. Can we do this tomorrow? And you were like, sure, you bet, buddy. You're the best. Get feeling better. And I was like, I really hate you right now. I'm just trying not to die.
I came back like within 30 seconds of your text. Yes!
I was like,
it's just,
are you happy that I'm sick? Or for the extra day of prep?
Yeah, right. Both?
Well, needless to say, I'm not dead. And we're once again back in the Fortress of Nerditude on a Tuesday night. And I'm happy to be here.
Tuesdays rock!
Tuesdays rock. What's that, Cleveland Rocks I'm thinking of, maybe? The Drew Carey show?
So I worked with a guy for a while, and he was an interesting guy, but he was like intense at all like the wrong like times. It was really weird. I was talking to somebody who also knew him, and he's like, yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Like, he'd be on a phone call and be like, yes, yeah, yes! And I'm like, dude, what's going on? Like, is this bad? Like, somebody die in your family? Or did you just, like, make a deal or something? He's like, no, my insurance premiums just went down. I just got a call from Geico's.
Wow.
Like, it's a freak, man? Like,
is he one of those guys that, like, you know, pronounce the wrong syllables?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, you're like, whoa, that's the wrong emphasis. You put the umlauts over the wrong word in that sentence, my friend.
Right. At least he had passion for something. I mean, lowered insurance rates. That's awesome.
15 minutes did save me 15%. Woo!
I gotta tell the world.
Yeah. So. Anyway, so sorry if my exuberance in my text
no, man, I'm
ill-timed.
I'm glad you were happy that I was near death's door. That was awesome.
I just want the insurance money.
By the way, the black roses you sent me, a tad too much.
It was too much? I thought it was too much when I said it. Yeah.
I mean, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to start, leaving daggers with notes like pinned to my door, Captain Hook style.
Yeah, right.
Let's see. So, like, my week, I mean, besides being sick, my last week, kind of like the tail end of last week coming into this week, it's been pretty good so far, besides the illness, obviously. Jackson, like, potty training's going well. He's 3 days in a row without a single accident. So,
wow, that's more than you.
I know, right? Listen, it's called a prostate problem, okay? I don't want to talk about it.
No, that's awesome.
But so he's doing well. My phone has been like crazy. Like, I dropped it a while back ago, and like a button got stuck, and so like the volume's always like on full blast. and the screen started doing weird things with vertical pink lines. And I broke down finally and used my insurance and did a warranty replacement. So I've got the exact same phone, but it's a new one. And
Ooh.
I got to reload everything, which took about 3 hours. But let me tell you, though, when you reload from scratch, it gives you a chance to not load applications that you haven't used in a long time. And I got to clean out a bunch of stuff. So like it seems like it's running probably 5 times faster than my other phone. So that's kind of nice.
There is so much stuff that comes out of Galaxy, like the Flip Book and the Samsung this and the S Life and all this. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you can turn a lot of that off. So that's what I've done. Today I've just been listening to Three Dog Night nonstop all day. Their greatest hits album. My dad was a huge fan of that band, and like I just woke up this morning and I was like, man, I was thinking of my dad, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna listen to some music that Dad used to listen to, just kind of a fun way to try to kind of keep me going through the day because I wasn't feeling great, but I needed to go back to work. Yeah. Give me something kind of positive to kind of like focus on and kind of keep my mind like somewhat distracted so I could kind of do my tasks that I needed to, but like not focus on the fact that I felt horrible. And man, I tell you, Three Dog Night, it's hard not to feel good and hard not to sing along in front of your coworkers when you got earbuds in. It's challenging. There was a few times where I was like, okay, I'm going to keep quiet because they're going to look at me weird.
So I got a question, though. So what is, in fact, the loneliest number?
The loneliest number is 1, Steve. Now, I'll tell you, 2, it can be as sad as 1, but the loneliest number is the number still, 1.
Ask any solitaire player. Yes, I got that.
1 is the loneliest number that you'll ever do.
Christopher Walken?
Just a little bit. Just a hint. Just a touch.
After having a stroke? What?
Right. Exactly. Awesome. I want to do this proper justice. So over the weekend, even while I was sick, I had another Martha moment. And I'd like to share this with you. So this Martha moment, as all Martha moments on the Fortress of Nerditude, is brought to you by our friend Bobby Pauls on Twitter at Nintendo Gurus. So I decided I wanted to make a dessert for the family, and I looked through the cupboards and I found a recipe or a box of like lemon cake. I was like, I was like, that sounds not bad. And then I looked, I was like, I bought lemon frosting. I'm like, of course I did, because I love all things lemon. But I was like, this just lemon cake, lemon frosting doesn't sound right. And I was like, ooh, what if I made lemon pound cake in like a bundt pan, and then like I drizzled like warmed up frosting over it so it would kind of make a glaze. So I literally made the boxed version of the cake, except I did a 4th egg instead of 3, and then I added in a package of lemon pudding mix to it.
Oh yeah,
to make
it nice and moist.
Yeah, moist and dense too.
Yes, yeah.
And so I cooked that in the bundt pan at like 350 for like about an hour. Pulled it out, toothpick clean. It comes out. Let it sit and cool for about 25-35 minutes in the bundt pan. Then I popped it out, let it cool all the way down, and then I just took 2 scoops of the frosting and I microwaved it until it was liquid. Let it cool down just a little bit, and then I drizzled it over the top, and it just kind of ran, and it made a nice glaze. And sliced that thing up and gave it to the boys and Brita, and it was a nice lemon pound cake in a bundt pan. So it was a nice little dessert.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, I try to do new things every once in a while, and as Bobby Pauls calls me, I'm his Martha Stewart. So I'm gonna give him crap about it every single time I make something.
That's
I'm
right.
gonna talk about it. What I really want to do, though, Steve, if I'd really want to give him a hard time, is I'm going to try to find audio of Bobby saying Martha or Stewart and clip it all together, kind of like, like when you were in high school and girls would cut out like individual letters to like make like a little like fun, like cute, like little note to give to you, which of course
were ransom notes.
Which of course, we all recognize as ransom notes. We're like, will you go to the prom with me? Heck no, I'm not going to do that because you're going to steal my liver.
If you ever want to see your child again, 200 million in unmarked bills? What the freak? Oh, will you go to prom with me? Oh, sorry.
Gotcha. Yeah. So anyway, I did that over the weekend. When I was sick, I finished Luke Cage on Netflix, and I finished the rest of that series. It was pretty good. I did enjoy it. It definitely was pretty graphic, some of the violence at times. A lot of gunshots at close range. I was like, ew. So, a lot of blood splattering on people, and like their reaction, like when blood splatters on them, is kind of how I felt watching. I was like, "This is pretty disgusting," but I would imagine accurate. I mean, I think I would feel disgusted if that happened to me.
Right.
But if I can take a moment just to be serious, just for a second, to change the tone a little bit. Yesterday was September 11th. It was the 16th anniversary.
Right.
And, obviously we lost 2,996 individuals on that day. We lost firefighters, we lost policemen, we lost husbands, wives, mothers, fathers, uncles, aunts, children. It was a moment in our history that I know you and I will never forget. I mean, I know where I was. I know you know where you were. And I was just kind of, thinking about that as this was going and realizing, like, my kids are going to see this and they're going to hear stories about it, but, like, they didn't live it. They weren't born yet. So it's going to be kind of like Pearl Harbor, right? My grandfather lived that. And so my father heard stories, and I heard stories, and I, read news articles and seen it, in history books and whatnot, and video, but of course, our pictures, not video, but, of course, like, I didn't experience that, so I'm not connected to it, but, 9/11, though, I was very connected to, very in the moment, and watched it as the world did. And so anyway, as that anniversary passes, I definitely, my mind at this time of year always reflects on the people that we lost and all the other, like this, over 6,000 people that were injured that day. And my heart goes out to those family members and friends that, lost someone that day. Anyway, so just something I was thinking about.
Yeah, no, I'm actually kind of ashamed to say that I actually got into the office, and I was like, the flag is at half mast. I'm like, somebody passed? Like, was it, was there something? I was thinking, I know. And I was thinking, like, was it because of the hurricanes and whatnot? And then, somebody reminded me, and I was like, oh my gosh, and it's, I had a conversation with somebody at church about this, about how quick we are to kind of get back into our old ways, right? So when something happens, like, like a hurricane, or like, of course, like 9/11, everybody becomes, very charitable, and they, the religious leaders talked about how the pews were filled, at whatever denomination, whatever faith, and flags donned every porch in America, and were attached to cars and all the rest. And that lasted for a while. That lasted for months, maybe 6 months, maybe more, and then slowly, people get road rage, and they have flying the W, not the American flag, and who knows what. You just get back into your ways, and it's kind of like this cycle that we go through, both as a society and as individuals. We go through these cycles in our lives of remembering those things and living a certain way, and then we kind of get back into it. And so I think it's really important to not do as I did and forget those things, and take time to remember, and then remember the good things that came of it. People were, there were just so many wonderful stories that came from that, and have come from things like, Hurricane Harvey. I just got a bunch of Facebook notifications of people that I know that are, friends with me on Facebook, that are down there helping right now. Yeah. And so where tragedy strikes, there is always charity to follow. And I think that's a pretty awesome thing. Yeah. And it kind of just brings out the humanity in all of us, that we're not all that different.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Well, very cool. Well, I will share just a little bit of my week. My week was pretty good. You talk about music and about, just bringing back memories of whatever, and introducing music to your children that maybe you listened to as a kid or your parents listened to. I have been hitting up Bob Marley, the Legend album.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, every song on that album is just so good, and it puts me in the best mood. And so I've been like, listening to it with my kids. I'll like play it really loud in the mornings as I'm like taking a shower, and I'll be like singing to it like, 3 little birds sit by my doorstep, singing treats, and so they've started to like get to know the songs, and like, so I'm dancing around with my daughters with this Rastafari music and stuff. And anyway, I love Bob Marley, love it. So, but speaking of like, kind of some throwback things and whatnot. So our kids have, every week, we let them have a movie night. We have, it's usually on Friday nights where they can invite one friend. Each child can invite one friend. We make popcorn, we have pizza, we have candy and whatnot, and we have dinner with the kids, and then they can come downstairs and watch a movie. And if it's early enough, we'll also do like s'mores around the fire at night. And so, but a lot of times we'll choose movies that, that we know are safe, right? And it's amazing how a lot of movies nowadays are just, they throw in so much of this other stuff, right? Like we got Boss Baby, and we kind of previewed it a little bit. We're like, there's a little bit of Alec Baldwin SNL stuff that kind of slips in here. I'm like, it's not. There's some things. So instead, we kicked on some old school Disney, and we hit Free Willy 2, because we already did Free Willy like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I know, right? I'm like.
Like, instead of a current movie, let's go to a direct-to-tape sequel back in the day.
And so I come down, like, midway through the movie, and suddenly it's like, have you seen my childhood? And it's Michael Jackson. I'm like, what the freak? I'm like...
Forgot about that, did you?
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's a throwback song from the past. And of course, they can never get the main child star that they had in the original. So they have to get some like Jonathan Brandis knockoff where they're like, I kind of look like him and I have blonde hair and I kind of look like a kid from like, Home Improvement. And so why don't you throw me in there? Jonathan Taylor Thomas knockoff.
So let me ask you this. Have you seen Boss Baby?
I've seen some of it, yeah.
So like our kids, because like we have an Apple TV and like, occasionally, if you like click on the movie thing, it'll show you movies you've purchased and movies that like are available to purchase.
Recommended.
Now. Recommended new stuff.
Yeah.
And they keep seeing Boss Baby, but they call it Baby Boss because I guess the daycare lady has it. And so, like the other day, Charlie was singing. He was singing some song, and I was like, "Where did you learn that song from?" He's like, "Baby Boss." I was like, "What the heck?" So I can't remember what it was. It was just a song like. It wasn't a bad song. It wasn't like anything like, he shouldn't be singing, but it was just a song.
Three Dog
like,
Nights or something like that.
Yeah, it was, gosh, I can't think of what it is right now, but I'll try to remember it. But it was just a really odd moment. I'm like, that's like a song from like the 90s. How do you know that? I mean, it was like a little Salt and Pepper or something. No, it wasn't. I mean, but En Vogue.
Well, there's there's a great line in the movie that, again, no children would know, but the Alec Baldwin's character is this baby, this boss guy, and he's trying to help babies become cute again because everybody has started to like dogs, right? And he's like, dogs are the enemy. So he's got all these kids around, he's talking, and this big fat kind of like baby Huey baby goes to like grab a cookie and starts to put it in his mouth, and he's like, put the cookie down. He's like, cookies are for closers. And it's this great line from Glenn Ross where he's kind of like this, and he's like, coffee is for, I think it's Jack Lemmon even, that he's like, coffee is for closers. So he has this line. It's awesome. So
I remember what the movie is. Blackbird by the Beatles. Charlie was like Blackbird singing in the dead of night. And he's like, take these broken wings and learn to poop. I'm like, what? I was like, what are you singing? It's like, I'm singing Baby Boss. I'm like, uh-huh. Yeah. I was like, McCartney and Lennon are not happy right now. Lennon's rolling over in his grave.
Yoko Ono. Yeah. She's going to find you.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's
it's just
awesome.
Sorry.
Anyway, yeah. Anyway, so a good week, but always fun to see, to have time with the kids and see them grow. Lila, actually, our littlest, is her first day of pre-K was this week, and it's been really cool to like see her after work, and she's totally like talkative and like, so Dad, so today I met this boy, and he had a really long shirt, really long sleeves, and his name is Bob, like Bobby.
And you owe me 10 cents.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to know a person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. I still have to pay up on that.
Yeah.
But so that's been.
You still have to pay up on that. That's been a couple weeks. It's like $4.70, you cheapskate. Pay your son.
If you tell him anything, I swear.
I'm texting
Addison,
him right
like,
now. Yeah. Hey, Addison,
Right.
tell your brother.
Anyway, so good
too
week.
funny.
Very, very good week, and happy to be back.
Good. Me too. Well, let's jump into our favorite part of the podcast, shall we?
Yes! Sorry, I just wanted to be overly excited. Let's do it.
I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
Welcome to the old Rebel Intelligence, the favorite part of the podcast of mine, yours, and everyone's apparently today. To start off Rebel Intelligence, Super Friends, I am so excited to talk about this first item here. It brings me great joy. Like my heart grew 3 sizes today because something happened. I am going to say the scammers, the terrorists of my childhood and nostalgia are going to take a blow on this one. So, today, Nintendo announced that, of course, they're going to have more of the Super NES classics, that they're going to have, greater stock throughout all of 2018. They're going to keep releasing, which is really good news, right? Everyone's happy.
Awesome.
Everyone's happy and excited to hear this because, of course, like I said, I've still got to go stand in a line to go get one. Because I want to guarantee that I get one because I missed out on the NES Classic. And I think, Steve, I even told you that, like, I've been starting to kind of keep my eye on eBay to see if prices are dropping, and, like, I'm starting to see some going for like $150 to $170 instead of like the $250 they were going for pretty consistently. But I can't pull the trigger on that. Well, Nintendo has done something right in this respect. Today, they announced that they're going to be bringing back the NES Classic in 2018.
That is awesome.
So they're saying, I think maybe summertime, but they're basically going to run and do their run of Super NES, and then they're going to gear up and make a whole bunch more of the NES Classic minis and sell them. So if you missed your chance, Super Friends, like I did, and you've been feeling bad about yourself, you've been getting down, and you've been thinking, man, I'm such a loser. No, you are not. Just wait. Because in a few short months, $60 is going to get you your NES Mini Classic at retail prices. None of this scammer terrorist business. Do not negotiate with terrorists. I say it all the time. It works for our government. It works for me. It works for you. I'm just super happy. I'm so happy about this, Steve. I can't tell you. I'm going to get one. I'm going to make sure I stand in line. If they do pre-orders, that would be great, but it'll probably be a stand in line thing. But I'm going to get one because $60, man, for 30 games, and you get to plug it into an HDMI. I mean, that's so good for value.
You know what's really great about this, though? It's great for dads because finally, like, we can, like, pwn our kids at some game. Like, I can't beat my kids at friggin' like Mario Kart, but you take me some Super Mario Bros., I will kick your trash, son.
Right.
You get some Pac-Man, some Metroid, some Donkey Kong. Look out, son, because the hammer's coming down. Bam, the Power Glove.
So here's the thing, though, too, about the old NES games. Like, it wasn't just like, there was no save points in most of these games. So like, you had to like learn the patterns, and you had to have muscle memory. Like, I can sit down with Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and after just a minute or two of kind of getting used to it and remembering like how the fights go, like I can get like all the way to Tyson just like that, because I used to play that game so much as a kid. It's just muscle memory. I'm like, oh, I know against Piston Honda, this is how I got to fight him. Bald Bull, you got to wait until he does his big and he like picks the one arm up, and then you crack him in the face and his little pants drop, and then you just gut shot him right in the belly where he's got the little piece of tape and an X right there, and you just blah, blah,
blah. You sure
blah,
it was
blah,
the
blah.
belly?
Let's say that.
This is a family show.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. That is. Now, how much again does the Super NES?
80.
80 and 60 for the classic.
It's a little more expensive. There's actually fewer games on it, but you do get a chance to get Star Fox 2, which was never released. So that's kind of a cool thing. And let's be honest, I mean, these things are really just kind of Raspberry Pis or emulators that are put in a fancy, retro looking
Package.
box. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what they are. But I mean, for those of us that had these, you want the nostalgia. I mean, it's the original games. It's in something that looks like the original console, and it's official. It's done by Nintendo, so you don't have to worry about legality issues. It's a really cool thing, and it's not that
But the
expensive.
controllers are full size, though, right?
Yeah. Controllers are full size, like the normal controllers.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. Very, very cool. Well, speaking of, so instead of going the retro direction, I thought we would lunge into the future, and
in the year
as many of you,
2000.
in the year 2000. I don't know if that was a little sharp.
Yeah.
but
I don't think you hit that final note.
Whatever.
Leave it.
So, leave it and done. As many of you probably know, the iPhone, the 8, the 8 Plus, and the X or the 10 has just been released.
Announced today.
Or news has been released. And so, and this is huge. I mean, there's a lot of things that just specs and whatnot that have come out that are going to make this, it's going to be faster. It's going to have some different things we're going to run through really quick. Aside from the screens, though, the iPhone 8, the 8 Plus, and the X are not, or the 10 are not really that different inside. They've got I think a new A11 Bionic chip, which has got a 6-core design, 2 cores dedicated just to internal processing, 4 cores to help it be energy efficient. But and they've got different storage options. You got a 64-bit and a 256-bit. Gig. But the one thing that is a little bit different is that while the screens are fairly similar, the actual models kind of diverge quite a lot. And I think the most expensive in the way of storage gets up to about $1,400, which is the most expensive, right? Which is unbelievable. It's hard. So you've got the iPhone 8, which is I think $699, which is the cheapest of the three. Then the 8 Plus is $100 more at $799. Then the final is $1,000. But if you want the 250 gig of storage, you're gonna have to shell out $1,149.
See,
the most expensive cell phone ever made.
To me, this is just nuts, right? I mean, we're in a time where cell phones are getting more expensive. I mean, for the higher end flagship phones, they have gotten more expensive. Like this phone I've got now is probably like a $700 phone. It's not cheap. And of course, they let you pay it over, a monthly fee over 2 years. And so you look at it like, it's only $30 or $33 or whatever, but it works out to be the full price.
$700.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, you're
no bones
still
about
paying it. But here's the thing, starting a phone at $1,000. I did a little looking at this too, Stephen. It seems like the only thing different from the X or the 10, other than the 8 or the 8 Plus, is it looks like it's more pixels, which, let's be honest, at this point, people don't care much about pixels because you get to a certain point,
right.
It's like it could be 1,000,000 pixels or it could be 2,000 pixels. It's going to look the same to you.
Exactly.
It really is.
There's a law of diminishing returns,
right.
And we've already reached it.
Right. So it's more pixels, and then I saw that there's no home button. So it's just...
That's right.
It's just one piece of glass.
Right. So the new iPhones are going to use facial recognition. It's called Face ID. It's a system that scans your face anytime you need to unlock your phone. I just worry, though, if you were in some kind of accident where you've been horribly disfigured, you'd never be able to access your phone. Think of how bad that would be.
They've got to have some. No, you're actually you're absolutely right. I mean, what?
Phantom of the Opera. He could never use his phone. Phantom of the Opera is near.
But
it's funny because they have. Oh, go ahead.
Do you think they're gonna have the PIN code option so you can just touch it and wake up and do that? I would hope so. But yeah,
some woman gets up in the morning and she's just like, it won't recognize my phone. You're like, baby, you need to put your face on. You need to go in the shower. You need to do your hair.
Okay,
there you go.
So here's the really funny thing. I thought of this because of course I'm a little irreverent sometimes. You know how
What?
I know. You know how in movies Like if someone has to bypass a thumbprint scanner, like they'll like cut off that person's thumb and then take it and use it. What is it going to be now? People are cutting off faces. That's exactly right.
Silence of the Lambs. A nice Chianti and a fava bean.
Like, here, let me behead this guy so I can open up his iPhone 10 to see what he's got on his Facebook profile. I mean, come on. Anyway.
Well, it's funny because there's actually an image on this website that I found this article on, and it has this woman who looks like she's not dressed, and she's like coming out of a pool, and she's all wet, and this phone is sitting on the ground, and it looks like it's spraying her in the face. I don't know if you've seen the article, but it's trying to show that it's recognizing her face, but it looks like from the phone, like it's literally like super soaking, spraying her in the face, and she's just calmly like taking it, like. And I'm like, you could have used some different imagery, especially that she's out of the pool and it's like this weird. But anyway, so a few other things though. The X does have optical image stability on both cameras, while the 8 Plus only has it on the main camera. They also have two, not one, but two. The 8 Plus and the X sport dual 12 megapixel shooters in back. So in total, you've got 3 cameras, which I don't really know why you'd need 2 cameras in the back, but they've got them. In case you need to
listen, here's
pictures.
the deal. At $1,000 starting price, that iPhone X better come with like a customized ringtone by DMX. X gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you. Knock, knock, open up the door. It's real. I mean, it's got to be like something like.
Wow, that was nice.
Yeah. It's got to be something like $1,000 starting, or almost $1,200 for the upgraded like hard drive space. That's just
and you think about
nuts.
that though, like the last laptop that I bought like a Dell, like 21-inch, whatever it was. I mean, it was like a top of the line, not top of the line, but it was a nice, detach the screen, touch screen, all the rest. Yeah. It was like $900. You're telling me like more than a laptop for a phone? Like, I know that it does all this stuff, but dang, man, have we? And we've got to the point where it's kind of like. It's accepted, right? I mean, your $700 phone, you bought it. Like, I'm gonna upgrade my phone soon. It kind of is what it is.
It's gonna cost you,
which sucks, And you're right. Like, we think like, oh, it's over time. It's $30 a month. You are paying that full amount.
Would you buy $1,000 phone or a $1,200 phone?
If I had the choice, is this an either or is this a $1,200?
No. I'm saying like, would you?
Okay, I didn't.
I know you're not an iPhone guy, and I know I'm not either. But like, would you spend $1,000 on a phone?
No.
Me neither. Because the reality is, a device to play Candy Crush should never cost $1,000.
Well, and we've gotten so far away, and I understand, like, there is a need to have your phone do all these different things, but there's a point where it's like, I really need it to call people, to check my email, to send texts, and to get on the internet, really. Those 4 things, pretty much what I need, I mean, I don't know. I think it's getting a little out of hand, if you were ask me.
Just a little.
Just a little. So, anywho, I'm going to get off my soapbox now. You're up!
Okay, so there is a new movie coming out. I believe it's called The Current War. And it's actually a movie about Thomas Edison and his competitors at the time, which obviously Nikola Tesla is going to be in it.
Right.
But it's also going to be Westinghouse. I can't remember his first name.
Mr.
But Mr. Westinghouse. But let me tell you this. Like, I've seen some other movies that kind of like talk about this and kind of show this era and the invention and like the rivalry between the two. And it's really interesting stuff. But Benedict Cumberbatch is going to play Thomas Edison. And that guy can play anything right now and make it exciting. So This movie's coming out. I'm going to try to see if I can put a link to the trailer in the show notes so people can maybe go and find it. It's on YouTube, but I think it looks awesome. I'm going to go see this movie. I think it'll be a movie Breed and I would probably do for a date because I think she would like it as well.
That's awesome. So. That is cool. One of the things I saw that I thought was interesting, I'll just a quick mention, but Gal Gadot obviously rocketed. That's actually the Yeah. That's like doctor at the end of somebody's name. That just is the end of it.
Yes.
Anyway, rocketed to fandom, stardom, and iconness, but she almost wasn't. If it weren't for Charlize Theron, she being such an excellent actress, we might have gotten there a little bit sooner. But
Really?
she actually, Gal Gadot actually lost out with Theron for the role of, is it Furiosa? I think, in Mad Max Fury Road.
Okay.
So she was up for the part, and in this article, in this interview, she talks about that she had been the runner-up, but Charlize had, won the part, and there were a lot of like almosts, a lot of movies that she almost won the part, except she was always not a big enough name. She was up against somebody else, the Demi Moore of the audition. And so she always lost out, and it wasn't until Wonder Woman where they gave her a shot, and so Miss Israel now became the of Spencer's Desire.
And Steve's, if we recall.
What?
We're actually watching Wonder Woman again, my wife and I, Brita, and that's such a good movie, man.
It is a good movie.
It's just such a good movie. Anyway.
They did a really good job with it. Yep.
Speaking of movies, this is going to be a little throwback to something we've talked about. So you remember a few episodes ago, we had a conversation about Netflix breaking up with Disney. Disney's deciding to do its own streaming thing. And we knew, obviously, that they were going to be taking all of their animated stuff and all the Pixar stuff. But it looked like the Star Wars movies and the Marvel movies were probably going to stay on Netflix. Well, things change, and it's just been announced that all Star Wars movies and Marvel movies will be moving over to Disney's new streaming service. And it's interesting because we had a lot of people when we talked about this that week, and who responded to on Twitter, they said as long as either Star Wars or Marvel stays on Netflix, they would stay with Netflix. Now, we got a lot of that stuff that's going over to Disney when that happens. So I think this move is going to be bigger than we think. I think Disney's streaming service is going to probably pick up a lot more viewers than originally we thought when we first talked about this article.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was probably inevitable. I mean, these are two of their largest, kind of tent poles, and so it made sense to. I mean, that they would. It makes sense for them to.
Yeah, for Disney. Yeah.
So that was inevitable to me. So yeah, figured as much. House with a mouse. Very cool. One of the things that I wanted to talk about as well was this was just a funny thing. So to celebrate Christmas this year, a little early.
A little early. It's middle of September, man.
There's a little thing now. Now I have daughters. You do not, but I assume that your kids still like them. Pixar has come out with a quick short featuring Josh Gad and Menzel.
Idina Menzel.
Idina Menzel, yeah. I feel like John Travolta here. Anyway, and so they have a quick short that airs before Pixar's latest film, Coco, where it's basically, Olaf helps to try to find Elsa and Anna some holiday traditions, and since they were too busy and yada, yada, yada. So, but it's kind of a cute premise, and it showcases some kind of different religions and different secular activities, but it is funny because Olaf is like, so I'm just wondering how your family, what your family does at that time of year. And like, kind of makes this innuendo to like, don't want to say what time of year that is, or, don't want to offend anyone. Anyway, so just a little short, and they Elsa and Anna do a little duet, When We Were Together, which was already featured on their debut trailer for the upcoming shorts. So anyway, just a little something. But I know my kids, anything Frozen, whatever it may be, they are all in. They drank the Frozen Kool-Aid long ago.
Yeah. I wonder if one of the holidays of what do they do for that will feature feats of strength and a metal pole that's in the room. Seinfeld? Anyone? No. All right, never mind. Don't you remember when George's family doesn't celebrate Christmas? Don't you remember that?
I don't remember that episode. They celebrate by feats of strength.
It's Gosh, I'm trying to think of what it is. Yeah, it's gonna escape me now. But yeah, they don't. It's Festivus. That's what they call it.
Oh,
Remember?
Festivus for the rest of us. Yes.
Festivus. I was like, if it's something like festival, no, yeah, Festivus, where like they said like they don't celebrate Christmas, they celebrate Festivus. That they pull out like a metal rod that they just like a pole that they just like stick up in the middle of the thing, and they have a big dinner, and then after dinner they have feats of strength.
I do.
So if that little Olaf Christmas movie had something like some like little nod or reference to that, that would be funny.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Well, Pixar does put a lot of little Easter eggs in, so maybe we could see that. Maybe I'll shoot him a text.
Yeah. You do that. You get on the phone with Bob Iger over at Disney and have him talk to the Pixar folks for us.
That's right. I actually sold a house that was right next to Bob. Was his last name Iger? Yeah, it was right above his house in Snowmass, Colorado. Our house, the house that I was selling, looked down on his house.
Ooh.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Interesting. Is that all? I think I'm out. Do you have anything else?
Well, I have one more, and it's again going along with the Christmas theme. One of probably the best Christmas movies of all time. I think
Die Hard.
There you go. Per an earlier episode, I think. So apparently there is a book coming out called A Die Hard Christmas, the Illustrated Holiday Classic, written by comedian Doogie Horner. And it's illustrated by JJ Harrison. It's basically inspired by, of course, the Christmas poem, 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, but instead, details... instead of Santa's attempts to deliver presents to good girls and boys, tells the timeless tale of a New York police officer who single-handedly takes down a gang of European terrorists. and so it's awesome. Like I saw some of the artwork. It's hilarious.
Is it still pretty violent?
Heck yes. Yeah. No, it's very true to form to the movie. It's available on October 17th for about $17. It'll appear on Amazon for slightly cheaper. And it says the book may not be ideal for younger kids, given the illustrations do remain true to the violent portrayal of the original Die Hard. But if you feel it's important for your kids to learn about the true significance of the holiday, which was launching Bruce Willis's action hero career, you can always pretend that the blood spatters are just cranberry sauce from Christmas dinner.
Ho, ho, ho. Now I have a machine gun, too.
Yes, so that might dawn a few stockings in the Madura home.
Oh, please, no, you're one of them.
That was so much better than the earlier impression of, who did you do?
Christopher Walken.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I said, hey, that was more of like a drunk Harry Carey.
I like how my horrible Alan Rickman pretending to be American that's scared from Die Hard is the better of the two.
Right?
That's a very specific impression.
Oh, please.
Oh, please. No, you're one of them. Yeah. Well,
good.
That's awesome. Are you out now? You got your fill of Rebel Intelligence?
I have blown my load.
Well, on that note, let's talk about last week. So last week we had a fun conversation, Steve. We got into a conversation where we, would you rather do this or would you rather do that? And of course, our question of the week was, would you rather know how you will die or when you will die? And we got a lot of responses. Yes. And so let's jump right over to the old email, shall we? And we're going to start with our first one, which is from our friend Grouchy Surge, which was funny, by the way.
Nice.
He messaged us on Twitter and says like, "Hey, when can I get the long form answer?" I'm like, "Dude, it's the email. Just use it by all means."
Yeah.
And true to his word, we got an email. So he says, "I would rather know when I'm going to die. If you know how, you will live in fear of situations and try to avoid so much. Running around all paranoid and ish. Do the cool kids still say that? But when is so much more important to me because I want to know how much time I have to spend with my family so I can make the most of it." I like that.
Very thoughtful, Grouchy.
I like that. Yes, Grouchy Surge. And I think I took the position that I would want to know how I die, because if I know how I'm going to die, that's right? I said how.
I said how. You said
when. I said when. Yes. Okay.
Because I said how? Because I said if I know I'm going to die in an airplane crash, I will just take Amtrak and be fine. And then you said, but a plane could land on you.
That's right. So I was in the when camp, but I can't see both sides. But I like that Grouchy agrees with me. So thanks, Grouchy Surge. That's awesome. Going over to another email we got, Peter Christensen.
What up, Pete?
He says, Dear Nerds, +1 for Paul Bettany. My favorite part was that he played Chaucer in The Knight's Tale. It says, for a super creepy take on the Joker, listen to Taron Killiam on the Fighter and the Kid podcast. He gave me a link. He says he really likes my idea that in the Joker movie, Ben Affleck plays all the parts, Nutty Professor style.
Hercules!
Yes. He says, anyway, he would definitely choose to know when he would die. I don't imagine there's any pleasant form of death, and most of us will either die in a hospital or at home. So knowing when lets you live your life to the fullest. He says, thanks for another great episode, Peter. I mean, once again, I don't think that's, knowing when's not a bad idea.
I think Peter is right on. I mean, he is spot on. It really was a great episode. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah. Very, very true, Steve. Nice. Well done. Okay, going over to Twitter. We had some responses. Josh Stapleton at cred_81 says, when? If I'm healthy the day before, I'll assume I die by you guys de-pantsing me on a street corner, causing me to trip into oncoming traffic.
Already happened almost twice.
Yes. The geeky nerd at dspin67 says, tough question. If you know when, you will try to alter the outcome. I mean, it's true. I mean, there is some of that if you know when it's going to happen.
Or maybe wouldn't you just embrace it though? Like if you had the time, just work backwards, say I'm going to do everything I need to do, hit the bucket list.
Yeah, maybe.
Unless it's like tomorrow and you're like,
right.
I got to get off this podcast.
Right. How many people really embrace death though? I think most people try to embrace life to the point of like trying to do anything to prolong death. I'm spitballing here. What do I know? Paul Calicote at pcalico84 says, how? Because when that happens, you know it's time and not live on a timer. So Paul Calicote's with you, Steve. He says he'd rather know how he dies because
now is Paul a first-time responder? I think has he responded before?
Nope. This is Paul's first time. So Paul, welcome to the Fortress of Nerditude.
Woo, woo, woo. He's like a door prize winner.
But it's funny that you bring him up because here's something I found really funny. He just literally before the show started, about an hour ago, he tweeted back at us. And he says, hashtag I'm always late. Origin movies top 3. Number 1, TMNT. Number 2, Jurassic Park. Number 3, Tron. That's so funny to me because that literally was the question of the week from our first episode.
Reginald Vell Johnson?
Reginald Vell Johnson. So, Paul Calicote must be working his way back through the old back catalog, as we say.
Well, it's going to be a crazy ride through the Mad Hatter's lair, my friend. Like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Yes, welcome
to the fortress.
And then let's jump over to Facebook to round it out. Caleb Albers says, though there is a decent argument for both, I would personally go with knowing how I die. I feel like having that countdown always in your brain would haunt you at night to the point of insanity. You could make the argument that you would live life to the fullest, but you could also have the nagging feeling of mortality that we as human beings can overlook because we never know what each day brings. But knowing how, on the other hand, would ease that part of your brain. Obviously, there's some cases that would be wrong, like a car accident or something along those lines, where you would start to fear doing those things. But as for typical day-to-day life, you could rest easy knowing it's going to be a surprise. Just wanted to note, blasphemers, Coke in the bottle beats Pepsi out every single time. To me, Pepsi tastes like watered-down Dr. Pepper. And he says, love the episode, looking forward to each one.
I gotta say, here's what I gotta say. I gotta say. No, on a serious note, I freaking love Caleb's responses. They are always thoughtful and well thought out. I enjoy listening to his points of view.
Can I point out, though, I think Caleb has a problem sleeping because he's mentioned in a lot of his posts, like there's things that keep him up at night or things that keep him, worrying to the point of insanity at night, knowing.
Yeah, it's called drinking Coke out of a bottle. 12D nail, Caleb. Don't you know, man? Good golly. Science class, 6th grade.
Yeah. Anyway, I agree. I do enjoy Caleb's responses quite a lot,
and all of your responses. Super Friends, man, I love hearing from different points of view, and often makes me think of things in a different way that I hadn't before. So thank you.
And that's kind of the reason why we ask these questions, because obviously we've got to take on things, and we look at things a certain way. But we like hearing from our friends, of course, on this podcast, our super friends. And knowing what you guys think. And obviously this week was a lot of fun because we had a new listener who joined with us and who responded to us. And so, guys, keep that coming in. Every week we're going to ask you a question, or maybe we'll switch it up every now and again like we've been doing recently and have you ask us a question. But you can always reach us on email, and our email address is fortofnerd@gmail.com. You can reach us on Twitter @fortofnerd. Or Facebook, which is facebook.com/fortofnerd. Steve, Paul Calico's a new listener. Someone turned him on to us. How can we have our super friends, like this new one, Paul, help us find other super friends?
You guys can rate us on iTunes, so the Fortress of Nerditude isn't as hard to find as a smartphone under $1,000.
Very nice.
What up, PC? Thanks for joining us, and I wanted to give another shout-out to another friend that I don't know his name, but Mr. Noodlepats converted someone to the Fortress, and this particular individual is a friend of Josh's, is a huge gamer, but not a digital gamer. He is a board gamer. And Josh sent me a text before the show tonight that said that this particular friend got word that there is going to be a reprinted version very shortly sold in stores of none other than, wait for it, a Fireball Island for $50.
What? Really?
Oh, yeah. Christmas time in the city.
Really?
Yes. So there's going to be, and I didn't get a chance to look it up before the show, but whoever you are, make yourself known. Comment on whatever the question is this week. I want to know who you are because I want to send you a very large Chiquita banana bowl of fruit to say thank you for making my day. You've made my day, Mr. Willie.
I think it's not going to be like a bunch of bananas. It's going to be a single bowl with just a single Chiquita banana in it. Is that what it's going to be?
But it will be delivered by a woman with the bowl on said woman's head.
Gotcha. She can do the
I
little...
heard that you were feeling ill, headache, fever, and a chill. Came to help restore your... Anyway,
yeah.
Good times.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
We want to do more
Look it up.
post-production editing than we have to.
Right.
Anyway, super friends, we love you. Keep on keeping on and bring others to the Fortress, man, because the doors are open and all are welcome.
Absolutely. Well said, Steve. So, Steve, I know that that every week we follow this format and we kind of do this thing, where we talk about ourselves, we talk about what's going on, we do Rebel Intelligence, we talk about the questions from last week, and then typically we get into a discussion, and we're gonna, obviously we're gonna continue doing that, but I thought that tonight we should just, this was a big announcement, and so I figured we should just kind of talk about this, because I've been dying to talk about this all day, and I've been trying to avoid social media and talking to people because I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag and, let my take on all this be known a little early, because I thought it'd be good for you and I to talk about.
Yeah.
So obviously Star Wars is a big part of my life, has been for many, many years. And I know you as well.
Yes.
You and I grew up on Star Wars. It was, childhood games, playing with toys and movies and going back to the theaters for re-releases and midnight openings of, the prequels, and then, absolutely hating our life choices afterwards. But we talked recently about the departure of Colin Trevorrow, right? That he's, leaving the director's chair for Star Wars Episode 9, right? We did talk about that. Did you hear much about the reason why he was leaving?
Not until I read a few articles in preparation for tonight's show, and which I don't think is surprising as you read this stuff. Basically what I read was that he had an inflated ego, and that there was it created some friction and some conflict with Lucasfilms, which ultimately led to him being fired from the project.
Yeah, I saw the same thing, and I kind of heard that, and because I know originally when he left, like Lucasfilm just kind of put out a statement that says, like we're parting ways, and we're not,
as they always do,
right? As they always do, and they try to keep it amicable. But then, of course, lots of people are involved in lots. I mean, let's be honest, lots and lots and lots of people are involved in making movies, and it's gonna leak out. And so when I heard that, like, he had this ego, and then like you kind of heard this about, was that Christopher Miller and Philip Lord, right, who were doing the Young Han Solo project, kind of this same thing. And I started thinking about it, and it's like, okay, Star Wars is a big money-making machine. I mean, big. And Kathleen Kennedy, who's the president over at Lucasfilm, obviously has a vision for what Star Wars should be, and she's going to stick true to that. And so she's not going to let people come in who want to kind of take it in their own direction. Like, she's saying, like, you can write a story and we'll approve stories, but like it has to have a certain tone, and it can't do certain things. And like, you couldn't have characters, like you couldn't go back and tell like the young Han Solo story and like completely change his character, because then you'll have to explain why then his character acts completely different in all the other movies we've seen him in, right?
Right.
So I get that if like a director's creatively not going the right way, but like, who do these directors kind of like, I mean, not like I'm anyone, but like,
say it.
No, who do these directors think they are to like come into a well-established, continuity of movies? And like, I get like trying to put your own like little spin on it, right? I get trying to make it your own, but you can do that in the confines of like, hey, here's this intellectual property. Here's what we do. Here's things we won't do, and make it your own, right?
Right.
Like, obviously, like, Rogue One was an excellent movie, and it looked different than some of the other Star Wars movies. It had some great, it was just a great movie through and throughout, right? But it didn't do anything that would seem out of ordinary for characters in the Star Wars universe, even though these weren't established characters. And it seemed to work. Like, it felt different enough, and it was fresh, and it was original, but yet at the same time, it kind of felt like this was all kind of in the same stream, kind of going the same direction, right? It wasn't going upstream or across the grain, or however many mixed metaphors I can toss in here. We're crossing the streams, man.
You're right.
So my question is, like, why do these guys come in, and these directors come in and think like they've got to shake everything up, that they've got to reinvent the wheel? That's my question.
Yeah, I think first of all, to be a director, you have to have a fairly large ego. And it's the same thing with like fighter pilots. Like, you have all of this riding on your shoulders, your skills alone. So you kind of have to have that. But I agree, when you're coming into something established like a Lucasfilm project, from what I read, Kathleen Kennedy, she does not put up with personality crap.
No.
Basically, like, if you rub her the wrong way in any way, like, you're out, you're done. And she's gone through a lot of directors. I mean, you've seen her go through a lot. And these young directors come in and say they want to do it this way or that way. They want to put their own stamp on it. And she's obviously trying to, maintain the integrity of the brand. She's not looking for some, pardon the pun, but pun intended, rogue, director to go off and do his own thing.
Yeah.
So it's, and obviously, he did. And we see the way the cookie crumbles.
We're mixing metaphors right and left here. So I'm with you. Like, make it your own, but don't do it at the expense of like, throwing caution to the wind. Because, you're talking about a multi-billion-dollar intellectual property. Disney and Lucasfilm is not going to let you screw that up. They're just not. Right. They're just not. So, Colin Trevorrow is out, right? That happened. Today, something big happened. So there's been speculation, like, who's going to come back and who's going to direct episode 9. I even think we talked about a little last week that George Lucas said back in 1977 he wants to direct the finale. And
Right.
I personally feel like, we don't want to go there. He's directed 4 Star Wars movies already, and in my opinion, only one of them was directed well enough. But he's the brainchild behind the thing, so give the man proper credit and respect where it's due. Today they announced the director, and there was a lot of people talking about who it was going to be. And Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilms decided to bring back none other than JJ Abrams, the director of The Force Awakens.
Heck yes.
So, are you excited by this?
Heck yes. I think that he is a phenomenal director. I love the stuff that he's done. I think he will add stability and balance to the Force.
I'm to be perfectly honest, I'm a little mixed because I really did enjoy the Force Awakens on a whole as a movie.
I did too.
It was really good, but let's be honest, I think we've talked about this, and I know it seems to be a common consensus among fans. The Force Awakens was a reboot of A New Hope. I mean,
right.
And I think J.J. Abrams even went so far as saying like he needed to kind of ground this movie back in an established Star Wars universe and kind of get back to a feeling like you had in the original trilogy. And so, yes, while new characters were introduced and there's some new story plot, in the end, it's the rebellion, going against the Galactic Empire, basically, the First Order against the Resistance. And they're destroying a planet-sized super weapon that can destroy entire planets. We've seen this. It was called the Death Star, right? And so one of the knocks and criticisms against J.J. Abrams is he basically just retread an established story to make this. Now, The Force Awakens made lots of money. It was a good movie. It was entertaining. It was fun. I did enjoy it, but my criticism of it at the time was I'm like, story-wise, this thing didn't diverge too far from the original. And so...
Are you saying it was a little safe?
It definitely was safe, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely was safe. It was nostalgic enough that it's going to feel comfortable to people. It's not going to put people where like they feel like they've got to learn a ton of new planets' names and a ton of new, characters' names. I mean, you had established characters: Han Solo, Chewbacca, Princess Leia, R2-D2, C-3PO, Luke Skywalker. I mean, these aren't, the references to Darth Vader in there. I mean, these aren't unfamiliar characters. I mean, these are the big main characters in the original series. And then you introduce like Rey and Finn and Poe Dameron, right? They really introduced like 3 big new characters. 3 isn't a lot, but if this had been something different and you didn't see Leia or Han or Chewie or Luke or R2, all the rest, and it was like Finn and Poe and Rey and, all these slew of, I mean, obviously we did get a, Kylo Ren. So, I mean, I guess we did get a little bit more. And then, there's Captain Phasma, who was on screen for, all of but 17 seconds.
Right.
But, like they could have introduced, like a whole bunch of like, these are the people you got to follow. And it could have been like 15 new people, 20 new people, and had none of the originals. But they played it safe. They went with an established cast of characters and added in new enough to give the future of where the series is going to go some life, right?
Yep.
And obviously we know Ryan Johnson's The Last Jedi is going to come out in December. And so my concern with the episode 9 is going to be, is J.J. Abrams going to try to wrap this up? Because this is the finishing of the main trilogy, this kind of main Skywalker, family line, right? Is he going to retread like Return of the Jedi, which I've heard a lot of people wonder? Or is he going to try to write something that's an original story? And because he wasn't just announced as the director, he was also announced that he's going to be writing it along with another individual. I think his name is like Chris Terrio, maybe.
I saw that too. Yep.
Yeah. So, so that's that's one of my concerns is he going to do this? The second thing is like I think he's a great director. I think JJ Abrams is a great director. I don't think he's a great writer. I think he's an okay writer, but I don't think he's a great writer. And so,
give me some examples as to why you'd say that.
So he was heavily involved in a lot of things, like going back to what's the name of that show? Sydney Bristow, Alias. Like Alias, like in the first couple of seasons, like there were some really good storylines and some plot lines, but there was a lot of times where I felt the dialogue was really kind of like very predictable, very flat, like not very impactful. Like there wasn't a lot of like emotion behind it sometimes. Kind of the same thing with Lost in some of the first, few seasons where he was involved there in Lost. Like he did, some of the writing. I was like, yeah, the writing here, just like there was times where it didn't feel like the dialogue moved the story along or moved character development along a lot. And that was one of my complaints somewhat about The Force Awakens. Like we get introduced to Poe Dameron and Finn and Rey and Kylo Ren, but like we don't get a lot of like character growth in any of those characters in that first movie. Now, hopefully you will in the next movie, but then that's not JJ Abrams writing, it's someone else.
Right.
So,
yeah,
like I said, I don't think he's a horrible writer. I don't think he's great. I think he's a good writer. I think he's definitely does better than average, but he's not the greatest, let's say.
Better than average.
Better than average.
Would you say that he would be would he be a better story writer than, say, George Lucas?
Oh,
crazy old John.
Crazy old Maurice.
That's right.
George Lucas. I mean, go back to the original trilogy, Star Wars, A New Hope. There's a lot of really kind of wooden dialogue, like stuff that was just very, just clunky, and you're like, okay,
Right.
I'd probably say he's a better writer than George.
Okay.
I
We're
would
here first, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm just saying, as far as like dialogue stuff goes,
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting. Like, but he's a phenomenal director, and like JJ Abrams does a really good like casting and finding the right things and like trying to present things in the right way. I do know that a lot of people complain with him about the lens flares, because he's like very well known for like using a lot of lens flares in all of his movies, which he toned down. I felt like for The Force Awakens, and they were there, but it didn't look like the Star Trek reboot where like the Enterprise bridge looked like a Vegas casino. Every single time like the camera moves, you're like, oh, I'm getting blinded. Oh, no, stop. So many lights, so glitzy.
So many sevens.
Oh, yeah. So we'll see there. But this Chris Terrio, like, he may do, if they share writing, like, maybe they're the next Lennon McCartney of movies, one complementing the other and making each other better. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that obviously J.J. Abrams, but I think he's going to have a very good runway, because I think that there's going to be a lot of depth added with The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
That hopefully he has, some a good springboard from which to further develop the characters. Because I feel like with everything that happened, we've got Kylo Ren kind of coming to grips with murdering his father. We have
spoiler alert.
Oh, sorry.
That movie has been out for 2 years, so hopefully,
yeah. If you haven't seen it,
if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't seen it yet, go watch it.
Yes. Then come back. You have Luke dealing with the fact that he's put all of his everything into training Kylo Ren, and he feels betrayed and feels responsible for what happened. You have Rey trying to figure out who her parents are. You have all these different things, and I think we're going to see a lot of character depth happen that hopefully JJ Abrams can just kind of stand on the shoulders of giants, and maybe where he lacks as a writer can hopefully kind of be made up there.
Yeah.
Kind of by where he has his starting point, I think, is further along than than others who have taken the reins of the Star Wars ship. So.
Now, and the other thing is, like, he did breathe new life into a new Star Wars movie. I mean, expectations for Force Awakens were really high, and he did deliver a very, very good quality film that, like, made tons of money. So that's really good in his favor. And he does have a track record of producing a lot of good things and directing a lot of good things.
And this is his wheelhouse too. I mean, like, this kind of sci-fi. I mean, this is right in his wheelhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I know he's not going to be everyone's favorite choice, but I'm okay with him. But I have a few concerns. But you know what? Only time will tell whether or not he does that. And in the end, let's be honest. I mean, we as fanboys can nitpick and look at things right, left, and center, and be like, "Ooh, well, if I was doing it, I would do it this way or that way." But in the end, we're not. We're going to plunk down our $12.50 and go sit in the movie theater and watch it. He's actually going to be sitting in the director's chair and making decisions and, saying, I want this shot or this shot, and, looking at the editing and the casting and doing all of that. So, got to give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt, I guess. I mean, we all did say that Heath Ledger was going to be a horrible Joker, and we didn't think he was going to be a good Joker, and then all of a sudden he was a great Joker. No one thought Christian Bale was going to be a good Batman. He was a good Batman. No one thought Ben Affleck was going to be a good Batman, and despite your dislike of him, he was a good Batman. Same thing was said about Michael Keaton, right? I mean, this was kind of pre-internet days, but like people said, like Michael Keaton was going to be a good Batman. I thought he was a great Batman. So it's one of those things where we're talking about it now, but it's still 2 years out. So we'll see. Right. But speaking of 2 years out, did you hear also today that? So originally, Episode 9 was scheduled to be released in May of 2019. And so a lot of people earlier in the day were saying, oh, well, how, are they still going to keep that schedule? Because it looks like they're going to be rewriting the script. And it was announced a little bit later, a few hours later in the day, Episode 9's been delayed to December of 2019.
Oh, really? I did not see that.
So, but think about it this way, though. Like, that's really only 2 years from this December. So you're going to get Episode 8. So you'll have, like, in December of 2015, you'll have Episode 7. In December of 2017, Episode 8. December of 2019, Episode 9. Time-wise, I mean, that's still pretty good to keep them that close, considering it's not like Lord of the Rings, where they're filming them all back to back to back at the same time, and then releasing them, 1 year after another. That's still pretty good. And we're going to be getting the young Han Solo movie in between there. So
that's true. So we have a little bit of a bridge.
Yeah.
A little Band-Aid to our gushing wound of lack of Star Wars movies. So
yeah,
that's a horrible analogy.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know where
the cookie's crumbling. I don't know.
Cookies crumbling.
I got egg in my face. I don't know what's going on.
Across the grain in the same stream. I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, I'm excited. Like I can wait till December of 2019. A few more months for them to rewrite and get it right so they can shoot it and make it well done. Like I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I agree. Good things come to those that wait. If I have learned anything from the Heinz ketchup commercials.
Yeah.
And that's really been most of my formal training. So
that's it. Just Heinz ketchup commercials.
That one haiku, and that's really it. So.
Very, very nice. Very nice. Well, super friends, that's all we got for you this week. We are glad that you joined us. We're gonna ask you this question because I want to know what you guys think. JJ Abrams, do you like this choice or do you wish they would have gone with someone else?
Like Spencer.
No. So,
I really think
I think there's other people they could have gone with. It still would have been well, but I think in the end, when we're gonna look at all this, I think that's I don't want to say safe pick by Lucasfilm.
It's a responsible pick.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Responsible pick.
It's a responsible pick. You're going to go with an established director who has done a Star Wars movie that made a lot of money, and he's a top-notch director, and you can't find many better. So Yeah, that's a responsible choice.
And I would say if you do disagree, or if you do choose the path less traveled, we'll say, in your response, let us know who you'd put in there. Let us know who you'd put in the director's chair.
Yeah.
So we'd love to hear your response and disagree wholeheartedly next week. What? No, I didn't say that. All right, very cool. Well, it was always good to be with you guys, Spence. Always good to be with you, my friend.
You too, Steve.
May the Force be with you. Always.